Hello folks, I'm Dr. Call and today we're talking about the power of one. So a lot of people are aware of the fact that drug development is a long process and it takes a lot of numbers, it takes a lot of money and a lot of resources. But what we don't realize is a lot of present day paradigms are focusing a great deal more on the repeat measurements from the same patient or the same person. And this is where science is pretty much going back on its head, trying to figure out whether the focus should be on trying to find an observation in 100,000 people, or whether you should be following the same person pretty much across their life to better understand the progression of any disease or the response of any drug. The reason I want to talk today about the power of one as a statistical important factor or feature is because it's critically important for patients who have chronic conditions, somebody like a patient with type 1 or type 2 diabetes, for example. You can't stress enough the fact that individuals who have a chronic condition at some point need to start self-managing. And as much as there are stats available to suggest that somebody with type 2 diabetes has an XYZ degree of risk of heart disease or of neuropathy or of kidney disease, the truth is no statistic is 100% applicable to any one person. And this is exactly why being intimately aware of your statistics, of your values, of your pathology is extremely important, especially when it comes to blood works and response to food. So something a lot of patients with diabetes don't understand, and the reason why a lot of them end up getting scammed by practitioners or fitness coaches into extreme juice diets or, unfortunately, in some cases, insulin, is because they don't take the time to realize that the baseline was never really fully known in their case, that even if post-diagnosis they are being recommended to take insulin, chances are that at their healthiest, their blood glucose levels may have been plus minus 10 units of what they are presently. This is why, if for any reason you think that there's a risk of diabetes in your family or for you as an individual, the best way forwards, instead of panicking and rushing to a doctor and rushing towards medication, is to actually start monitoring your blood glucose, fasting, and also post-meal, 2 hours post-meal, very specifically 2 hours, never really more or less, or even HbA1c. And keep an eye on it every few months, just to ensure that you understand what your patterns look like. Knowing those patterns at a young age or at a phase where you aren't diagnosed can really help better appreciate what works for you at a later stage. Because, like I said, a lot of the medications that are developed, and I have every respect for the industry, it's a lot of resources, a lot of money, a lot of very intelligent minds that work towards these things, but they cannot account for everybody. And that's exactly why, for you to understand your body, your system, your blood values is extremely, extremely important. It also becomes really important in better understanding your own doses, because a doctor may prescribe a dose, but eventually something like an insulin is something that you want to be very aware of yourself when handling it, because you don't want to over or under a dose in any case, because the spikes is what you want to avoid, especially as a diabetic. The same also applies for individuals who have something like a cancer in their family, and if they have a genetic predisposition towards cancers. If there's any history of any chronic or debilitating condition, it's usually worthwhile testing for it when you know that you're feeling fine and there's no worries per se, not with the intention of introducing a stress or an attention to your life, but more with the intention of knowing what your baseline looks like, so that if for any reason things feel like they aren't quite going in the right direction, or for any reason a person's starting to show any symptoms, at least there's some solid metric to come back to. Again, stressing on the fact that the power of one here is knowing your number, you being that number one individual that you need to monitor closely, as opposed to relying heavily on a statistic from a population that may be heavily Caucasian or heavily Southeast Asian or primarily African or primarily Asiatic from a different region. So as an individual who wants to look at maintaining wellness more so than taking care of an illness later, the focus should always be on harnessing that power of one, of the individual unit, which is your system, your body. So I hope that drives home the idea. I'll have a couple of papers attached with this little chat about statistics and how we understand them in science and how they're not completely infallible, of course, and how important self-monitoring is. In fact, a lot of the papers that have population-wide studies in Britain and in Europe that have looked at patients with diabetes have come back saying exactly that, that individuals who understand self-monitoring and who can control their drug dosing for themselves with complete knowledge and intelligence and cognitively being involved in it tend to do better than people who are just following somebody else's instruction or prescription. So please take away this from our little meet today. The focus is always one, the focus is always understanding your system, baseline to disease to wellness. And the first step towards that is gaining knowledge. And one way of gaining knowledge, especially through efforts like with people and scientists like myself, is joining events that we occasionally organize. As some of you know, I am a fellow with Pelotonia, and Pelotonia essentially is a charity that helps fund my research in breast cancer and metabolism. And I'm focused on helping people better understand breast cancer. So this June, I'm hoping to have a small event to help raise funds for Pelotonia, but also to help people understand the concept of immunotherapy and how the body's own self-defense initially tries to work against cancer, or how research today is so focused on harnessing the body's capacity to fight cancer through its own immunity. And details to that event will be in the link below as well. I hope you can register and join us on the day. We'll have very new, very exciting demos for self-defense techniques against a potential attacker as well, that are inspired by a Korean martial arts. So I think that'll be a very enjoyable new way of linking body self-defense against our own capacity to defend ourselves against a potential perpetrator. So I hope you can join us. It should be interesting, and it should be a good first step towards learning more and gaining some knowledge. In the meantime, I hope you stay fit and stay healthy. Bye-bye.